week, I can't remember, and they were on the Facebook Live, but not in person, so I decided if I should count that. I think I can. Okay, prayer request, please. Tell me your name, or tell us your name. Yes, your name.
Somebody else. I'm Donna.
Donna.
And my mom's in the hospital. She had, after she got there, she had a heart attack, so she was hold up with us.
Okay, pray for Donna's mother. And Polo, just in general.
I'm fixing to have a valve put in my heart the 30th of this month.
You're gonna have to put an open heart, or?
No, I'm gonna go through it. They went through and they finally had 3 50% blocks and 190, and they put a stent in it. And postponed doing the valve. So I'm gonna go back on the 30th and do that.
So Polo's gonna be doing valve heart surgery, hopefully non-invasive. Terry.
My uncle in New Orleans his kidney cancer came back, so he'll be coming here, and I'll be taking him to Anderson and Woodlands, and he'll be having surgery to take some of his kidneys out in the next few weeks.
Mary's uncle's kidney and Mary's family. Ruth, how is Kim?
She's still in the hospital, intensive care.
So Kim Fossman from Texas Homeland had heart surgery and is now having a few complications, so pray for her, that's a serious one. Mary?
My sister-in-law, Steve's sister, was just diagnosed with cancer, and he flew out there Sunday night and took his mother with him. So pray for him, Sister Janet.
Mary's sister-in-law? Some prayers.
My daddy's fighting congestive heart failure, so continuous battle's been going on for about a year and a half, and we get our goods in our bags, and we're back in our bags. And now he's got pneumonia this week, so.
Okay, quick recovery for Kathy's father. Anybody else want to mention?
Thank you for
Shelley
Shelley.
Faust.
Thank you that she's here.
Thank you that Shelley's here. She had a car accident yesterday, and I called her to check on her and something, and she was crying and said, "I just had an accident, call you back." And I said, "Okay," and then I went, "Oh my God, well, I don't even know what happened." She's glad she's here. Okay, everybody got that? So, Beaver, you want to lead us?
After this beautiful Easter weekend, Jesus walked on the shores of the Galilee and was asked how to pray to our Father. And this is how he taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Good job.
I like that one, Beaver. Thank you. Okay, let's go into our breakfast sponsor. You guys know Mike Lovelady. And Mike, do you have Jeremy?
Jeremy's doing a home inspection. Got a late call yesterday to reschedule.
Okay, well, come on up and talk to us.
So it's really good to be back to see you guys. I just love coming to this office. You guys are wonderful and great. I've got some handouts if you don't have one. I'll have some extras up here. Last night I was in prison. I'm gonna pass this around. If you could put your business card in it, I appreciate it.
I'll help.
Yeah, last night I was in prison. One of the things I do is prison ministry. I've been doing that since '96. I teach a Bible study class at the Luther unit, and I do that. I'm also vice president of Society of Samaritans. That's a nonprofit in Magnolia that provides emergency food, clothing, and financial assistance to families. So I've helped them purchase a new software system for their case management. I configured that for them. I trained the people how to use it live 2 weeks ago. So for the last 3 months, I've been putting 300 plus hours, volunteer hours, working for them, plus doing regular business. So I've been pretty busy. It's good to be here. Anna asked me to not talk about our government.
Hey, that's
Talk
not
about
true.
something educational. So what I want to talk about was foundation. So first of all, I have this flyer that talks about a resource blog that we have on our website. One of the most popular ones we wrote recently is home inspections for first-time buyers. Actually, it's a misnomer. If somebody has lived in a house for 20 years and now they're getting out, purchasing a house, this kind of walks them through what's involved in a home inspection. And there's all kinds of stuff that's on there, really good stuff that I think you guys will enjoy. One thing we also do is, if you'll give us your business card, whenever you post a listing on Facebook, we'll share that with our friends. So it's part of what Ann was talking about later. Let's work together and collaborate together also. What I want to talk about is foundations. A great topic, right? We all know this about problem with foundations. About 30 years ago, Houston builders moved from concrete foundations with rebar to post-tension slab foundations. They did not do that because post-tension slab foundations are a better foundation. They did it because it's cheaper. And often when you go cheaper, you sacrifice quality. And that's exactly what the Houston Foundation Association is finding, is that the post-tension slabs are failing sooner than concrete slabs with rebar is, and more than failing than concrete slabs. And this is a blog that's coming out. I think you'll see that they're coming soon. We'll be posting that blog soon about this article that we did. The reason for that is how post-tension slabs are constructed. What they do is they dig a trench around the perimeter of the house, and then they dig trenches in between, about 2 to 3 feet deep. When they go to pour the concrete, these trenches are filled with concrete, and then the slabs pour on top of that. So you have concrete, dirt, concrete, dirt, concrete, dirt. And when you put the post-tension cables in there, the idea is to bind all of that together, but you cannot put enough pressure on those cables for them to do the job. So as a result, just because of the design, the post-tension slabs are failing. So the life expectancy for, well, not life expectancy, the post-tension slabs tend to fail around 15 years. Now, that doesn't mean that every foundation is going to fail. Most of them will probably be okay, but it takes about 15 years if settlement does occur for something to happen. Now, you can have a house next door that settles and very minor issues with that settlement, and you can have a house right next door to it that has settled quite a bit and needs the foundation cutting to kind of reinforce the foundation. How can you tell? We look for horizontal cracks in the brick on the exterior of the house. That's stair step. So if they stair step, that's an indication it's failing. If you have a horizontal crack or a vertical crack, that's not nearly as important, but if it stair steps, that's an indication. We also look for cracks on the doors on the inside of the house. So if you have a crack that's going diagonally or even horizontally, that's a good indication the foundation is failing. We had one house recently, actually did this for my son. House looked fine, no issues with the foundation. But I opened one of the inside doors, and I noticed it just won't open. So I opened another one, and it did the same thing. So I tested all the doors in the house, all but 2 would swing open automatically. Didn't matter which direction they faced, and they all swung the same direction. So that's an indication that the slab is tilted very slightly, just enough for those doors to swing. So is it a big issue? Not really. In most cases, we just recommend to monitor it, but occasionally, it's more an exception than the rule that we'll recommend the foundation company to actually come out and look at it. In most cases, we'll just ask them to monitor it. And we do this by assessing what we find with cracks in the walls and the overall condition of the house.
You said post-tension is what you're talking about versus what's the other?
Well, it's conventional slab. It's the monolithic slab. It's a solid pour slab. The post-tension slabs are a thinner slab. It's not as thick. The concrete slabs are thicker and they have the rebar to reinforce the concrete.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Some people call them engineered slabs.
Yeah.
Engineer. So what is the construction year that we started?
Pardon?
What is the construction year that where the post-tension slab came on top of it?
What is the construction?
Construction year.
When did they start?
It's about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They started about 30 years ago.
Are you familiar?
Keeping that foundation,
put the tree posts around them? Do you
Yeah.
look into that?
Yeah, you'll hear different things. During the summer, during droughts, you probably want to do that. So that's- you want to keep the ground consistent is basically what you want. Because when the ground becomes consistently dry or extremely wet, then you have issues.
Are you familiar with ramjack?
Ramjack?
Ramjack, you say.
Ramjack. That's a method of reinforcing it.
They jack the slide good.
I will definitely look into that.
Well, that's talking about a company that could do the work if the foundation work was needed, right? That's kind of a famous foundation company. So Mike's here to answer you guys' questions all the time. Kathy?
Are you, it's Kathleen. Are y'all,
Kathleen, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, I just like to be called Kathleen.
Sorry.
I didn't mean that rudely. Do you find it that because this is becoming a problem, that builders are starting to switch back to the old way, or is it just gonna stay cost effective and they're,
Cheaper.
so you don't see the
Builders
switch
gonna
that
do.
they're seeing a problem?
Cheap out.
And maybe they're going
Until
back?
they're forced to make a change by building code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, good.
Appreciate it. I'd really like to do with you guys sometime. It's a fun event. So maybe we'll host a lunch party or an after-work party or something like that. And so we'll work with that and see if we can get something arranged for you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. I'll leave these flyers.
Yeah,
Out on the
just leave them
table
out
right
front, they
there.
grab them on the way out.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
wonderful week.
That was very informative, thank you.
Well, I asked him to give us a topic, you know, instead of just who you are, let's give a little bit about what you know. So that was good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, I am going to play video. You know by now that I like to do that. And this is gonna be 7 minutes. So I want you guys to take a breath, get ready. I want you to pay attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Gary Keller.
This is the first 7 minutes of the vision speech. And Steve's gonna talk about some of this, so.
Crank it up, Earl.
Crank it up.
Good morning. You know, I went into my, please now. Got in my closet this morning in the hotel and I said, I gotta wear some real estate apparel. And the only thing I had was my neighbor hoodie. We got to get up pretty early in the morning. All right, so normally Jay and I would come out and we would say, it was an interesting year last year and stick with us for the next 90 minutes. We're gonna fly through this thing and tell you what's going on and what we think is gonna happen. And we're not doing that this year. So we're gonna have an entirely different conversation today. Unfortunately, and I apologize for your butts, but it's gonna take a little longer. But I think you're gonna get a lot out of it. And so, let's start. Let me just say again, first thing I told the guys, I said, look, I wanna have this conversation. I don't wanna give a speech. What I wanna do is I want the three of us to have the same conversations that we literally have every day on your behalf. And we want you to just sit back, right, lean back, and we want you to listen to the dialogues that we have on your behalf. And then we're going to talk, then I'm going to talk to you about what you just heard. Is that fair enough? So the first thing is we don't wear suits. So we didn't wear suits, right? So before we get started, Josh, if you would, just take a second and tell me just a little about yourself.
I'm Josh Team. I'm joined Keller Williams about 2.5 years ago. I actually got into programming when I was really young, about 13, and went to college when I was a little younger. In fact, when I was a freshman in college, I couldn't go to a radar movie. So I found my first inverse correlation.
You didn't go, or you weren't supposed to go?
I wasn't supposed to go. Yes. And so let's just say that the college girls and guys didn't like to hang out with a young kid. So I played more video games and played computers and then left college pretty quickly. And actually, when I was 17, started working full time and started working for Fortune 50 companies. And got the pleasure to work with big brands like Bank of America, Exxon, AMC Theaters, building out digital innovation. About 3 years ago, Business Insider named me 30 under 30 most creative people. We got into a conversation, and now I'm here.
Why Keller Williams? You could have gone anywhere.
Well, the opportunity to change the world, doesn't, a lot of companies don't have that. We hear them all with Apple and Amazon, and the reason they're so powerful is because they have leadership that buys them, and they have the ability to distribute that innovation through their channels. So Amazon has lots of eyeballs, Apple has lots of people on their platform, and we have the leadership here that bought in, and we're the largest real estate company on the planet. So we can change the world.
Yep. All right, so welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So the Economic Global Forum a few years ago identified the era that you and I are in today as the fourth industrial revolution. So what I'd like to do is, at least for the next hour, is I kind of want to walk you through so that at the end of that, you have a real sense of the world that you're actually living in today, and a sense of the world that you're living in as it relates to real estate. So let's just dive in here. So one of the things that I'm very aware of, not only for my life, but for yours, is that right now, we're living in two different times, right? It's the best of times for the remarkable individual, and it is the worst of times for the unremarkable, okay? And unfortunately, you're gonna have to make a decision about who you are. We're living in a time where technology is rewriting the rules for just about everything. It's reinventing job descriptions, it's reimagining businesses, it's creating new industries, and it's eliminating others. Technology has more of a relationship with the consumer than people do. Now just think about that. And the most interesting thing about these times, and we talk about this literally every day, and that is profit is a distraction on the way to disruption. One of the biggest challenges that you and I have today in our industry is that the companies that we talk about every day, from Zillow to companies like that, folks, they don't have to make a profit. This all goes back to Amazon. You can thank Amazon for this one. And that is, Jeff Bezos did a remarkable job of convincing Wall Street that profit was a distraction. That as long as they were innovating, and as long as they were getting eyeballs, as long as they were getting market share, that they were going to define value in the stock market that way instead of value as in profitable. Now I challenge you to go home tonight to your spouse and try to sell that idea. But that's the world we live in. You can sit there and say it's unfair. There's a certain amount of that's unfair, but that's just the way it is, right? So we're living in a time of immense change if you're the tail, and a time of immense opportunity if you're the dog. You want to be the dog. Okay, so let's talk about how we got here and where we're going. So I just wanted to put this up there. I know that I was told that Brad couldn't be here this year, and I really put this there for his purposes, because most recently he paid us the biggest insulting compliment one could ever pay someone. But I want you to look at it, and I want you to just burn that into your soul, and that is, he called you the darling of the old world. Now, to be honest with you, there's a little bit of truth to that, okay? It's one of the reasons why when we celebrate all the successes that we've had, I usually do that for about a minute, and then, yeah, they're laughing because they know me, and I just move on. And the reason is because the game's afoot, and everything that we did in the past has absolutely set the table for what we can do in the future. And you're gonna see that today, okay?
You've signed every email I've ever gotten from you, onward.
Yeah.
It is a theme in your life.
Yeah, you know, yes, that's exactly what I do. It's interesting how that happened. I was going through a really tough time in my life, and was having an email conversation with a good friend. And at the end of it, I said, you know, I guess we have no choice but just to keep moving onward. And I ended the sentence like that, and they responded to it that way. So the next email I sent my friend, I just signed it onward. And then by the end of the email dialogue between the two of us, I was just signing my emails onward. And the thing is that everybody, when they get it, most often think I'm talking to them. I'm talking to myself when I say it. I'm reminding myself that I have no choice. So I don't know about you guys, but
So we're gonna stop there, guys. Obviously, that's a longer video, it's 37 minutes. And what they did was take the vision speech and divide it into chapters. It's right there on your KW Connect. It's wonderful, right? So, I'm going to just go ahead and introduce Steve Schluter. Most of you know him. AWU, owner of Market Centers. And we'll just let Steve take it.
Cool. What's going on, gang? Yeah. So what did you hear Gary say? I'd be curious. I mean, it was 7 minutes of 3 hours of total vision speech, and yet what did he set the stage for in the first 7 minutes? What did you hear?
Future.
Fourth industrial revolution.
Change. What's that? Hard work, change. Oh, onward, okay, yeah. Fight. Who wants to be the dog in the fight? Say yes. All right. Nobody wants to be the tail, right? Yeah. And so, my conversation around this today is, and I'm going to attempt to do it in 22 minutes, is we have a choice to make. And some of this, you know, if you were at the panel a few weeks ago, you heard me talk to some of this a little bit. And I've kind of positioned myself as the self-appointed database czar. And anybody that's willing to listen, I'm willing to go shake you a little bit and say, if you're going to be the dog, you got to get in the fight. What do you got to do?
Get in the fight.
You got to get in the fight. We're going to talk about what the fight is. And, you know, and of course, he talks like darling of the old world. And, you know, what Inman's really talking about is you know, there's this drive of companies that are coming into our industry that want to disrupt the way you and I do business. And why do they want to disrupt our industry? Because there's a lot of money in it, all right? There's a lot of money in it, and they want to get in the middle of your cash flow. And we have this choice where Gary said you have a choice to make. This is really the choice. It's the choice of being a functionary or being a what? I want you to burn those two words into your brain. What is it again? Or fiduciary. So let me ask you this. Let's go back to old world for a second. How many of you would agree the newspaper is dead? Yeah. Does anybody get the newspaper 7 days a week at your house? Hey, a couple of you. So it's not completely dead. Now, I believe you have this in Conroe in Montgomery County. Up in Williamson County, we have this. Do y'all have that magazine?
Yes.
I heard awesome. Now, how many of you get excited when you get it in the mail? Okay. Now, it's a newspaper, right? Why is that now in vogue? What is it about that newspaper that resonates?
It's
Once a month?
Once a month?
no.
The key thing is it's hyper what? It's hyper local. And you know, this is when we talk about getting in the fight you've got to get in is you got to get in and you got to be a hyper local what? Fiduciary, highly local expert, highly local real estate economist of choice. And so you got to go pick what fight you're going to get in, and that's your battle. And it doesn't have to be just geography, it can just be a community, meaning a neighborhood. It can be a community, meaning your network, your sphere of influence. And yet if they're not listening to you, Gary made the point, some people have more of a relationship with their technology. I mean, you see them everywhere, everybody's got their stuff out, right? Than they do with humans. And so in absence of a human providing value and hyperlocal value, will they go to their device? Yeah, and you could be the place they go on their device too if you work towards that end. And it requires being intentional. So here's what Gary said in the vision speech a few years ago. He said, so read it with me. He says, your goal is to be the what? The economist of choice for your local real estate market. It's your professional duty to provide them perspective. Because they're going to get perspective from somewhere. Should it be from a relative who doesn't know what they're talking about, or should it be from you? From us, right? And yet, you know, we have to make that decision. And, you know, we had this conversation at the panel. I didn't have a slide, but I referenced this. We talked about commodities. And we talked about, and I'm gonna go through this very quickly,